directly related to how less are the girls in that country educated. So there is an inverse relationship between population growth rate and the education of the girls. The more educated the girls are, there is going to be less growth rate in population. So one of the main important drivers for us to have a successful population control program, besides ensuring that the means for population control, contraceptives are available, but I think most important thing is that we need to prioritize education of the girls and make it #1 national priority, because the education of the girls will really help us bring some slowdown in this growth rate. But looking at all these socio-economic reasons, there is also a major governance issue. And that governance issue is that the formula that we have for distribution of financial resources, that places 80% weightage among provinces on the number of on their size of population. Now, how can you expect, when population control is a devolved subject, and if for any province, if they carry out a successful population control program, and if the size of their population also reduces, that actually means that their distribution, their share in the distribution of national pool of resources also reduces. So if a province has to have a larger share in the resource pool or the divisible pool that is shared or distributed amongst provinces, then each and every province has an incentive that it must post a higher population number so that it can justify more bigger claim on the resources. So now if the province is responsible for all population control, but ultimately the resources that the province will get depends on the number of population it can show. So I think this is a big contradiction in itself. There is no incentive for any province to carry out a successful population control program. So I think the time has come that we need to seriously review the National Finance Commission formula for distribution of resources. While there ought to be some weightage for population, but I think there should be equal weightage for demographic efficiency or population control program success that province also shows, because then no province should feel that if I can carry out a successful population control program, I will not be penalized for carrying out a successful population control program. So this is not possible unless we have national consensus on this, and I would urge all the experts to really put forward this case before the policymakers, because we have many political controversies now associated with how census is done. Census has been a very controversial issue in Pakistan for last several decades. Some provinces have been constantly alleging that they are not counted properly. Why? Because in some provinces we have internal dynamics where it is very difficult to balance those competing, conflicting interests. So this has become quite an explosive issue, and you always see that whenever we have census, there are political controversies associated with census. So the only way, I think, to come out of it is that either we de-link census with the distribution of national resources, so that census only becomes a development and an academic data, and it does not influence the distribution of resources, or if it has to be linked with distribution of resources. We need to have a more progressive formula for distribution of resources in the provinces, and I think this will be a major, this should be a major priority if we really want to see success in population control programs. The reason I have come here out of a convention which we are holding to honor our martyrs. Prime Minister was also keen to come here, but he is in that convention. But he asked me to come here and on his behalf reassure the audience that our government assigns full priority, and we understand the importance of this important intervention that we need to make in our society if we have to grow faster, because unless we will control population, we will not be able to distribute our resources in a manner where we can educate our children well, we can provide our people good health care, we can provide our people a good future. So our future is linked to how fast we can control the growth of population. Unfortunately, the preliminary results that have so far come out of the census, where we certainly see a trend in some areas which are way higher than our expectations. So we are now in the process of verifying those growth rates, and also we have asked the demographers committee, expert committee, to do or recommend necessary measures where they see that there is no basis for that kind of growth rate. Unfortunately, the census was done through digital tablets, and therefore we can very easily spot where was what activity done in what matter of time, and also we can, with the help of satellite imagery, cross-check the number of households that are there, and where there is reporting of higher households, we have been able to verify them with the imagery that has been given to us by Sparko satellite images. So we are in the process of validating and verifying, and maybe where necessary rectifying the results. But the sad thing is that if we just take the results on face value, that puts Pakistan in the league of Ethiopia and Nigeria. If we really take those numbers on face value, then we go from, there is no country in Asia that has that kind of population growth rate. So we put ourselves in the company of the sub-Saharan African countries. It's Nigeria, it's Ethiopia, it's Chad, which has 2.8 or 2.9 or 3% population growth rates. That's very sad. So therefore, it is a big responsibility for us to really work with the demographers and see that how can we figure out that what overestimation is there in census, if there is at some places, how can we have a credible census result that will give us a more credible numbers. But as I said, it is unfortunately a sad thing that we have persisted with a formula that is very negative for population control program. So that is our, struggle now that we are going through, and I hope we can find some good solution. But I would like to compliment British government, which is providing very valuable assistance and support. I think this message of awareness will really help people to plan their families better, to have smaller families, and use their resources to better educate their children so that they can become better citizens. I have found that in many sectors where normally our system tells us that there is a demand problem, I have always argued that no, we still have a supply issue. For example, I think it was 98, on 8th September, we planned that on International Literacy Day, we should bring in 100,000 out-of-school children into schools. So when I set this target, the education department was very skeptical. They said, sir, why not keep 50,000 target? because the students who we are going to target belong to very underprivileged backgrounds, and these families or these groups are not too inclined to send their children to school. So we really may have difficulty in meeting this number. But I said, no, let's do a very effective mobilization campaign, and we should then go for 100,000 children to bring them into school. So with the help of UNICEF and the education departments, we sent out teachers to all those communities where we found that children were not enrolled. We eased their process of registration. And end of the day, when the final results came, more than 800,000 children showed for enrollment. And unfortunately, then what we also found, that the schools did not have enough classrooms to hold those children into schools. And the other sad reality was that after 3 to 4 months, 50% of the students dropped out because we did not have enough teachers in the schools to hold or retain that enrollment. So it is still all these social areas where we are underperforming. Yes, there is a demand issue, but I still feel that it is a big supply issue. We have to take these services to the people so that they can avail them. And similarly, likewise in population planning also, there is still a supply issue. If we can take these services and provide, this education to our people, they will respond, and there is no reason that why should Pakistan have almost double population growth rate than India and Bangladesh, who are part of the same region. So therefore I compliment your efforts, but in the end I would like to say that we look forward in Ministry of Planning and Development to hear from you practical, actionable, doable ideas. And I can assure you, whatever recommendations you will make, we will implement them, because we sincerely and honestly believe that Pakistan is not short of knowledge. We know a lot of things, but we are very poor in implementation. So the real challenge is now to put things into action. And I keep quoting a study from Stanford University professors who said that a sick organization is one which has a knowing and doing gap. It knows things, but it is unable to perform or act on that knowledge. And it has a system where the system incentivizes status quo. So if that knowledge wants any change of path or any new direction, the system has so strong inertia that it will not allow that organization to take that new path or new chart. So we have to break that inertia. We have to forge a broader coalition in the society. I am that one poor person who is not a professional politician. I am a professional in politics, and when I entered politics, each time I chose to pick Ministry of Planning because I wanted to do something professional for my country. In '97, we did Vision 2010. In 2013, we did Vision 2025. And on each occasion, those visions were interrupted by political developments. Political events overtook. For first time, it was martial law. In 2018, that continuity was again disrupted because there was another program to carry out regime change, and that got disrupted. And by the way, when we started on Vision 2025, I would say that, many Aflatoons and Bukrats and Socrates of the society used to make fun of us that, look, there is no electricity for 16 hours in the country. Every day a suicide bomber blows himself somewhere. And you are telling us that by 2025, we will be in the top 25 countries. But because we were sincere to our program, we all worked hard. By 2017-18, we had added new 11,000 megawatt energy to overcome the load shedding and the energy crisis. We had succeeded in our Operation Nazm and eliminated terrorism. And through CPAC, we had brought in $29 billion investment. in 2017-18, US Ambassador, UK High Commissioner, France and Germany ambassadors would come to me and they only had one question. Excellency, tell us, where can our companies join CPEC projects and special economic zones? So CPEC had become Pakistan's global brand. And then, unfortunately, what did we do? I mean, I used to always tell people that nature has given us third opportunity. This is the third catch, and this is not a cricket ball catch, it is a football catch. So if we drop it, history is going to be very cruel to us, and that's what we did exactly. But what I meant to say was, in 2017, PricewaterhouseCoopers carried out a study in which they projected the future path of the global economies, and they had put Pakistan in 2030 among the top 20 most powerful economies of the world. So that means that we were pretty much on track to achieve our goal of being in top 25 economies by 2025. But this got disrupted. When I was in Adiala jail, thanks to Khan Saab, and I spent almost more than 2 months in the cell which is supposed to be a sentence for the death sentence convicts for no fault of mine. And I used to reflect that, I was part of 2 initiatives, long-term initiatives for the country, and both initiatives got disrupted because of the political change. So how can we then bring continuity in economic and public policies? So the only thing that came to my mind, and that we have now introduced in Ministry of Planning, that we need to transfer ownership of development programs and agenda out of government to the civil society of Pakistan, to the citizens of Pakistan. So therefore now we have a 5E framework which we think is critical for Pakistan's future. Exports, e-Pakistan, energy, environment, and equity. And in equity we have 3 drivers: education, health, and population control. Now, for these 5 E's, we have launched a network of champions of reform. Now, what this network means, that we want to enroll each and every Pakistani who has a background in that subject, who has certain talent, certain experience to make a difference or to contribute, be part of the policy making and policy implementation. And this way we do hope that we can transfer ownership of this development agenda to the real movers and shakers in the society. So if they are able to own this agenda, then there is a good chance that if tomorrow there is a political change, this lobby will force that political government not to abandon those programs and keep moving on that path. So I would strongly urge that, those of you who would like to be part of our population group as champions of reform, you are welcome to join, and we would like to establish a strong partnership of government, academia, researchers, civil society, private sector, so that we can together work as a team, we can create positive synergy, because the task is such great that no single government can, I think, overcome these challenges. And we should be very clear that where we have reached, today we need solutions, we need leadership that can unite the nation. And any voice that divides us is not part of the solution, that will be part of the problem. So today we need to all work together, come together, create a positive synergy. We have the competence, we have the capability, we have the resources. If we only can have stability in the country and we learn to work through collaboration, I'm very hopeful that in next couple of years, we can not only turn around Pakistan, but we can really take a very fast path towards development. And in the end, once again, thank you, British High Commission and UK government for this support, and I sincerely look forward to your recommendations. And again, I would assure you that your recommendations will be not put in the stacks of library. We will implement them to the best of our capability. Pakistan Zindabad.
आबादी को कंट्रोल किए बगैर तरक्की नामुमकिन है। आबादी बढ़ने की एक बड़ी वजह ख़वातीन में तालीम का फुकदान है। बढ़ती हुई आबादी को कंट्रोल करने के लिए कौमी सतह पर मुफाहमत की ज़रूरत है और इस सिलसिले में सूबों को भी अपना किरदार अदा करना होगा। वज़ीर मनसूबाबंदी और तरक्की अहसन